Hello everyone. In this session, we will discuss about different methods of asexual reproduction. In the last session, we discussed about fission, that is binary fission and multiple fission, and fragmentation. In today's session, we are going to study about more interesting types of asexual reproduction, that is budding and regeneration. So, let's see what is budding. Have you ever seen a potato? If you keep a potato for say 10 to 15 days, you see a small green color ball like structure on that potato. Okay, that green color ball like structure is something protruding out from the potato, something growing outwards on that potato, and that something which grows outwards on that potato is said to be bud. So basically, bud is a outgrowth on any particular organism. Okay, bud is an outgrowth on any particular organism. So this process in which an organism develops an outgrowth is said to be budding. Okay, an organism develops something extra on its body, and that extra thing is getting separated and a new organism is formed. This process is known as budding, and it is a type of asexual reproduction. Why asexual reproduction? Because only one organism can give rise to a new individual. Hence, it is said to be asexual reproduction. So, budding basically occurs in unicellular as well as multicellular organisms. We are going to see about both these examples. Yeast is an example of unicellular organism reproducing by budding, whereas Hydra is an example of multicellular organism reproducing by the process of budding. Okay, what is the difference between the two? Let's find out. I'll just share one image with you. Now, this diagram is very important. You have to draw this diagram. Okay, so budding in yeast. Yeast is a single cell, a cell containing nucleus and a vacuole, cytoplasm, cell membrane, everything. What happens when the cell attains maturity or when the cell reaches maturity? The nucleus divides into two and there is a formation and an outgrowth on a parent body. Outgrowth means something extra is being formed on the parent body. This is the parent body and there is something extra being formed on the parent body. This extra is said to be bud. As I said earlier also, bud is an outgrowth or an extra thing on a parent body if you talk in a general language. So, when an yeast cell attains maturity, first there will be an outgrowth formed, which is known as bud, and simultaneously there will be nucleus dividing into two. As in binary fission you saw, right? Nucleus divides into two and then the cytoplasm and then the cell divides into two individuals, right? In the same way, here the nucleus divides. One nucleus stays in the parent cell, another goes into the bud, and finally the bud with cytoplasm and the nucleus and vacuole gets separated from the parent cell, right? When it gets separated from the parent cell, it leads to the formation of daughter cell, and the parent is alive in this case. Okay, so please take note of this down, that parent do not die. When you talk about binary fission, the parent dies, right? But when you talk about a multiple fission or when you talk about budding, the parent is alive in it. Okay, so same procedure, only thing is there is an outgrowth being formed on the parent body. Okay, there is something extra. If you cut a potato piece with that green color bud on it and sow it into the soil, you get a new potato plant out of it. Same way, it happens in yeast also. When the nucleus divides, one nucleus moves into the bud, and when enough amount of cytoplasm and the nucleus is there, the bud gets separated automatically and it leads to the formation of new yeast. So this is about budding in yeast. Okay, bud is an outgrowth which develops automatically on maturity. Now let's see about outgrowth in Hydra. how do multicellular organisms do this? So it is said that same way as in yeast, there is an outgrowth, there is an extra thing present on the parent body. In the same way, here an extra thing is present on the parent body, and this is formed by cell division. Please note this. How is this bird formed? Because the cell keeps on dividing inside the body, and this leads to the formation of a bird, right? That is an outgrowth, something extra on the parent body. Slowly and steadily it develops, it becomes mature and becomes same as the parent, right? Slowly you can see it develops, and when you go further, you see the baby is very similar to the parent, right? It has developed tentacles. Tentacles are basically hair-like structures which allow these organisms to catch the food. Okay, so once it is able or matured fully, it automatically detaches from the parent body. Nothing has to be done by humans or by the parent. It automatically detaches from the parent body and forms a new Hydra. So the budding is a very simple process. What happens? There is an outgrowth, and the outgrowth keeps on developing, and slowly it becomes mature. And when it becomes mature, it detaches from the parent body. That is a simple procedure which is known as budding. Okay, so budding occurs in many unicellular, multicellular organisms. In addition to this, you have examples of corals, jellyfish, etc., which reproduces by budding. Okay, the diagrams are very important. Please note this down. We move to the next type of asexual reproduction, that is regeneration. You remember fragmentation? Yes, it is the body divides into fragments, and each fragment is capable of giving rise to a whole new individual, right? I gave you an example of me myself dividing into hands, legs, and my body, and my hands will give rise to a new Ankita, and the bed, my legs will give rise to new Ankita, and my body will give rise to new Ankita. So it automatically there will be 3 Ankitas formed. In the same way, there is one more method which is known as regeneration. If you see in the image on your screen, again you will see the same thing, that there is a parent organism, and the parent organism is divided into 3 pieces, and each piece is capable of giving rise to a new organism, right? Then the next question which arises to my mind is, why is there 2 different methods of fragmentation and regeneration? Because in fragmentation also the organism was dividing into pieces and new organism was formed, and in regeneration also it is the same. Then why there are 2 different methods? It is basically, the main difference between them is that in fragmentation it happens only when the organism reaches maturity, right? After a particular age only we start reproducing. The same way, after they reach a particular maturity, they start reproducing or dividing. But regeneration happens when an organism's body gets cut accidentally. Okay, you can please underline the word, that is, regeneration happens when an organism gets cut accidentally. It is not upon maturity it is dividing on itself. It is when by some environmental effects it is being cut down into several pieces, that each piece has the capacity to develop into a new individual. Okay, very good example of this is planaria. So please remember the examples. As I said earlier also, biology is incomplete without examples and diagrams. Okay, so planaria is a very good example of regeneration. You have few other examples you can see on the screen. Lizard and limbs of octopus. Okay, so when you have lizard being cut into pieces, it can develop into new lizards. Similarly with limbs of octopus. Okay, so difference between fragmentation and regeneration is, fragmentation because happens or occurs on maturity, whereas regeneration occurs accidentally. Okay, thank you.